So, welcome back to Bullets and Brass. I'm Remy. Finally, this is the third video in this set, and I'll probably edit them and post them in quick succession, so you're probably not seeing this too much later than the first one, which was Maslow's hierarchy, and then we talked about some basic prepping. Now we're going to talk about shooting. We're going to talk about firearms for disasters. Now first, why? Why do you want a firearm in a disaster? Because you can't eat it. It doesn't keep your roof, intact. It doesn't keep your kids entertained unless you're a real idiot. And honestly, for the most part, it's not going to do you any good. You're not going to need it. It's going to literally sit on the shelf and do nothing. But if you do need it, you might really need it. Now, let's be realistic. Maslow's hierarchy puts basic food, shelter, water, survival elements first. There's a reason for that. Physical security comes second. If you can't feed yourself reliably, then the firearm is not important. The firearm is not how you're going to feed yourself, not unless you're one hell of a hunter. And even then, you're going to need some other stuff. So, what is the firearm for? Now, the firearm can be for basic self-defense. You better have some training. Learning to use a firearm is not a one-day process. It isn't I read a manual or I watched a YouTube video. It takes some practice, particularly a handgun. They're not as easy as the TV makes it look. You don't hand one to somebody who's never shot, and 5 minutes later they're shooting bad guys in the head from 50 yards. Doesn't happen. They're also expensive. When you're talking, things you can buy to prepare for disaster, firearms are not the top priority in any way, shape, or form. They're on the list. I think everybody should have one, at least one. But here's the scenarios you do need it. Civil unrest is something that happens quickly. You go from everybody's good, everybody's calm, everybody's happy, to, oh shit, very quickly. And usually, you don't hear about it until it's too late. You're not sitting there watching the news, and the news isn't covering it constantly. So you don't know until it's coming down your street, basically. Even then, you might not know. Being comfortable with that firearm, not feeling like you are trying to figure out how to use it on the fly, is very valuable. Not being a victim is valuable. Now, we're not talking Mad Max here. We're literally talking, usually, a couple yahoos in a pickup truck going around a neighborhood and stealing a few things from a house and moving on. Or they're coming by and they're stealing generators from people who have them. They're raiding houses for food. They're stealing things that they think they can use or sell in the disaster is the usual situation. So, being able to defend your stuff helps with, number one, in Maslow's hierarchy. Physical safety feeds number one. So, what do you do? Well, number one, don't do it necessarily when the disaster hits. Do it ahead of time. If you recently bought a firearm, great. When you get a chance, get real training. Take a decent class on using that firearm. Doesn't have to be super tactical. Doesn't have to be, tier 1 special forces craziness. Just take a class on how to use it properly. They're usually available on a regular basis. Sorry, I just can't. I'm wearing slippers and standing too long in one place. My feet were getting sore. And looks like I got a halo going. Nice. So, what to buy? And here's where I differ from a lot of people. I think that you don't want to start with a handgun. If you are new to firearms, a handgun is relatively difficult to use, relatively ineffective, and difficult to use well. So what I mean by that is, in terms of effective use by a new shooter, somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience, they don't have a lot of practice, what is going to be more effective at defending your property, you, your generator, just being successful in dealing with a disaster. Because we're not talking about out and about everyday carry self-defense normally for this. This is a separate topic, right? So you could do a shotgun, you could do a handgun, or you can do a rifle. Now, there's a category of rifle called pistol caliber carbines. I think that they are a waste of time for this particular situation. They are better than the shotgun. They are better than the handgun. Why? Because the recoil is minimal, but the accuracy and ease of use are on par with the rifle. Now, the problem with the shotgun is the recoil. I can train you to operate a shotgun in minutes. I can train you to hit the target in minutes. What I can't do is ingrain the physical memory of how to do that well under stress with that much recoil. It is not point and shoot. You have to aim. And if you use a shotgun and you don't know how to do it well, it's going to be bang, 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 and at that point, if you've got to reload because you've got a bird gun or something, a shotgun meant for hunting birds, that only 3 rounds in the cylinder, it's really slow. Reloading a shotgun under stress is difficult. It's literally the make or break for most of the sports that include that. That is where people win or lose a match, is reloading their shotgun. Why would you handicap yourself? The shotgun is not better at this job in terms of stopping power because it isn't stopping power for one shot. It's stopping power overall. You're probably not going to have one home invader during a disaster. There's going to be several. This is the opposite of normal self-defense scenarios where you're probably only going to have one bad guy. It's probably going to happen at very close range, and it's going to be over very quickly. In a long-term disaster, in something like this, it could take a few minutes, and it could be at longer distances. We're not talking, blocks away, but it might not be up close and personal, and there's probably more than one. A rifle is the tool for the job. And I believe it was Jeff Cooper who said a pistol is for fighting your way to a shotgun, which is for fighting your way to a rifle. And this is because that is the order of effectiveness as a fighting tool. Shotguns are very effective if you are very well trained and everything is happening very close and you are a physically capable adult male. If any of those are not true, there are better options. And I'm sure I will get flamed for that. There will be plenty of arguments. And I'm not saying the shotgun is a poor choice if you are skilled in using it. But a rifle, particularly, and I will get flamed for this by anti-gunners, the AR-15. It is ergonomic, it is lightweight, it is easy to use, there's a lot of firepower in a relatively compact package. I can train somebody to use an AR-15 decently in about 15 minutes. I can then take them to the range and show them how to shoot it quickly. And their level of competence and their level of comfort with it in terms of putting rounds on target will be much higher, particularly if you put a red dot sight. One of the key things that red dot sights do is breed confidence and ease of shooting. Having to line up sights is complicated comparatively. For the average shooter, new, there's a lot to keep track of all at once. If all they have to do to aim is put a dot on target through something they're looking at, that's easy. They can handle that. That's one less stressor added to the situation. A red dot on a shotgun, great. A red dot on a handgun, great. But the rifle was already easier. Now, why the AR-15? Universal, easy, and fits a lot of people. Now, if you want to use a Mini 14, okay. I would say that the Mini 14 is harder to teach somebody new to shooting how to use properly and reload properly than the AR-15. A lot harder? No, certainly not. And there are many other semi-auto rifles that are perfectly suitable. The criteria here is a rifle, preferably in an intermediate cartridge. You want something that the recoil is mild enough that you can shoot it relatively quickly, comfortably, and not as an adult male. Think teenage daughter, think older woman, think non-athletic. You know, you're not handing it to a gym rat young lady. You're handing it to somebody who the hardest thing they ever do in their day-to-day life is open a can. Okay? That's kind of the criteria. You want something easy. Don't make it harder. Go easy. Make this as simple and easy as you can for the maximum effectiveness. Now, AR-15s are not cheap. They're a lot cheaper than they used to be, except right now during the disaster. But overall, they're not any more expensive than a handgun. They're not any more expensive than a shotgun. You can get cheaper shotguns and handguns, but a good, reliable self-defense shotgun or handgun is going to be in the $500 range and up. You can get an AR-15 in the $500 to $600 range that will work absolutely fine. Add a little money for sight, for a red dot sight. Uh-oh. Neighbor kid fell off her bike. She's okay. She's too busy crying about it for attention than being hurt. So, that is pretty much what I got to say about it. I am a firm believer that training ahead of time, regular practice, and using an AR-15 for that role makes the most sense. Is there different opinions? Absolutely. Are pistol caliber carbines my next choice? Yes. Specifically because they're the easiest to point, aim, shoot, and deal with. The mechanics of using it are easier. They work. But why would you trade off more power for less power when that's all you accomplished? The AR-15 is a very light recoiling weapon. There's really no reason not to use that round versus the pistol calibers. If you've got the pistol caliber carbine and you're happy with it, great. If you really can't handle any recoil, there's your option. But most people can handle an AR-15. My house guest is brand new to shooting. She learned to shoot an AR-15 as one of the first things she ever shot. She was amazed at how light the recoil is. It's not a factor for most people. This has been my experience with a lot of women, a lot of kids, most men even. People are surprised at how little recoil it has. So, take care, have fun, stay safe, y'all, and try not to go stir crazy. I know it's rough. Get outside, go fishing, go for a walk. Most places are not quarantined to the point you can't go outside on your own or, separate a little bit from other people and at least get some fresh air. So, take care, all. Say hi. Oof. Oof. Oof.